I just want to live out of my identity of knowing who God is and what that makes me. And that's how I want to live.
Rewrite. New life, new beginning.
Hey, I'm Jonathan Unthank. Welcome to another edition of the Rewrite Podcast. And joining me today, man, Patrick Mayberry.
Woo, woo.
That's what I'm talking about, dude. You are the woo-woo guy. Come on.
That's right. High energy all the time.
All the time, man. What has summer been like real quick before we jump in?
Oh, speaking of high energy, summer has been high energy. We've just been going, man. It's crazy. It's like almost over. Like I'm like, where? Oh gosh, I'm gonna drop my phone. It's like, where has summer been?
Yeah.
I've got 4 kids, and we've just been running the roads, playing sports. My boys are really into fishing right
Yep.
now. My daughter just started up cheerleading camp. My wife and I just got away for a few days, which was amazing. But we're everything's just been going. I've been leading a lot of worship at my church, and so yeah, writing a bunch of music and recording a bunch of music and getting ready to just put a bunch of stuff out, and it's all amazing stuff. It's just been very full, very full.
It's a good way of putting it.
Yeah,
Non-stop.
nonstop, baby.
Man, I appreciate you taking time out today. This is really cool where we get to kind of just dig deep into our stories of how we came to faith in Jesus, and have talked to several artists, and everybody comes from a different background and just different scenarios, and that's the beautiful part
Yeah.
of all coming to Jesus. That's where it all different roads, but then it all ends up being in Jesus, and faith there, and just life change there. But man, I want to give you an opportunity, if you don't mind, just share your story of how you came to faith.
Sure. I mean, it was a very meandering story. My road to faith was, for a long time, I kind of used to beat myself up about this. Like I didn't have a Saul to Paul road, Damascus road story where, mine was slow kind of transformation of like learning more and more about Jesus and allowing Jesus to work in my life and show me more of who he was, and actually to show me more of who he wasn't. I grew up in a small town outside of Nashville, Tennessee, and kind of loosely grew up in church. But the church that I loosely grew up in was a church where instruments in worship was totally illegal, not allowed. And it was a pretty small, conservative, I guess you would say kind of just a very like religious church. And faith wasn't really, I didn't know what faith was. It was more just like church. You went to church and you kind of did the thing, and then you went and lived your life. You kind of follow the rules. Um, Fast forward, I got really into music in middle school and fell in love with guitar and rock and roll and a bunch of rock and roll bands, and was just like, all right, this is what I'm going to do with my life. I want to be a, rock and roll guy. And didn't know anything about worship music, didn't know a worship leader existed, didn't really even know Christian music existed. And got involved with a ministry called Young Life in high school, and started hanging around there, and they loved that I played guitar, and started like, playing some songs around the Young Life world and these kind of songs of faith and songs about Jesus. And fast forward, really heard the gospel for the first time that really connected with me at a Young Life camp. And it was kind of there that I feel like my journey with, following and learning about Jesus really began in high school, and still pretty clueless to everything. And fast forward, I was in college, and got invited to play at a college ministry. And again, I didn't know anything about worship music, but I was a guitar player, and people were like, "Oh, you should come play guitar here." And I was like, "Okay, sounds fun." And I remember later that year, the guy who was leading that ministry invited me to a passion conference, which is a college gathering in Atlanta, Georgia. And it was my first time experiencing worship, corporate worship on that scale. And guys like Matt Redman and Chris Tomlin and David Crowder. And it just blew me away. And I just didn't know that existed. And I felt like it was there. God exposed worship to me, like musical corporate worship to me for the first time, and felt like he was like, "Hey, you could do the rock and roll thing. That's cool. We'll figure that out." Or what if you just went all in and like helped like build my church with music? And so I was hooked, and really, I mean, ever since then, I've just been fascinated with the idea of corporate worship and how to lead people and engage people and meet people where they are. And feel like, Jesus was so good at that, is making the outsiders feel welcome. And that's my heart. And because I feel like that's in a sense kind of what I was in high school, and felt like a bit of an outsider. And, through Young Life and ultimately Jesus, I felt like I was like welcomed in. And so that's my heart now, even with the songs I write, and when I lead worship here at my church or when I travel. My hope is just, I'm always looking for, I love the people in the front row, but I'm always like looking like who's back there on the back row? Like what do they need to hear? Like what do they need to know about what Jesus thinks about them? And yeah, that's my story in a nutshell.
That's awesome. I'm thinking about that as you're leading people in worship. That's a totally different view because most people see it from the congregation to the stage. As a worship leader, what warms your heart? What fills your heart up with joy when you're able to just use your gifts and talents that the Lord has given you, and then you're just bringing the body into worship to the Lord.
Yeah, I mean, I my wife and I love hospitality, and we love having people over to our house, and we love just making people feel seen and welcome. And I attribute so much of that to when I lead worship. And when I'm talking with young worship leaders, I just try to remind them, I'm like, "Hey, in a sense, you're inviting guests into your house, and you're gonna, they're gonna knock on the door, and you're gonna go open the door, and you're gonna be like, "Hey, we're so glad you're here. Come on in." And you're gonna say like, "Here, let me take your coat for you. Here, uh, you know, is here's where the restroom is. Can I get you a drink?" You're gonna have John Mayer playing in the background. You're gonna have the candles lit, and you're gonna it shows intentionality, like you thought of them before they were coming, and now that they're there, you've prepared and you've planned for them. And that's all I want to do in worship, is I want people to feel like we intentionally are thinking about them, and we're planning and we're preparing for them to be there. And so just making people feel at ease, and naming to the room, like, you may have had the best week of your life, or you might be walking in here on your last thread, or you might be walking in here because you were drugged here by a friend, and you don't give a rip about Jesus. And we're singing songs about the cross and the blood, and you're like, what does that even mean? And I'm like, well, just trying to give context for what we do and why we do it. And just always assume that there's people in the room who are on the fence and that aren't bought in, and just trying to always keep those people in mind. And so I guess I'm always trying to lead worship like a normal human. That's my goal. It's
Yeah.
like, what's the most normal human thing? Not a super Christian, not a professional rock star, but like, what's the most human way I can just be myself in this room right now? Because I feel like that's how God uses me best, is just when I'm just a normal human.
Yeah,
Because that's all we all
that's
are.
exactly right, man. Yeah, when we just offer what we've got to the Lord, and then He takes it from there.
Yep.
He's the one who touches the hearts, and He's the one who brings people to the cross, so to speak, whether it's in a
Totally.
worship service or you're planting seeds through what you do as you lead worship. It's just an outflow of your relationship with him.
Hmm.
So cool. What's it like being a dad? You know, you got kids, and they're all different ages. Boy, girl, all that. And I've got two girls. I've got a 18-year-old son. So we're all over the place as far as life experiences.
Yeah,
But how do you invest in them as far as like what you've experienced yourself personally with the Lord?
sure. You know, it it's it's I'm gonna say all of this, and um I'm not the most intentional guy you'll ever meet. Um so I don't want to sound like I'm a professional just crushing it dad, because I'm not. But my heart of hearts, um, and it's also tricky because, and I think you'll get this, like at this season of life, your kids are so busy and there's so much they want to do and that you want them to do. And also, you know, I'm like trying to work and build a career and do ministry. And so, I say all of this with that in mind, that caveat. But we love being together, and our kids are at this age right now where they're 14 to our youngest is about to turn 9, and they're so full of life, and they just want to be together. And so our oldest is a girl and the rest are boys, and she's full on teenager, but she still loves being around us and we love having her around. And so I think just looking for moments where we can all be together. I think we're entering in this season where it's becoming more common for us to all not be together at the same time. Like one kid will be at a practice, or one kid will be at a friend's house, or that kid's doing a sleepover. So finding the moments where we're all together, and just really marking those. My wife and I, my wife's a genius at like having amazing life conversations with our kids. Like the conversations her and my daughter have blow my mind, that I would be terrified to have. But
Yeah.
they're just talking about faith and what it's like to be a 14-year-old girl, and what it means to be a good human, and what it means to be a good sister. And we're just trying to find these moments to have these conversations with our kids, knowing that it's going to be a conversation that we hope just continues on for the next
Hmm.
30 years. It's not like a one-time conversation, but it's and another thing, for anybody that might be hearing this that's a parent, a friend of mine, I heard him say, imagine home is kind of like the lab, and it's like where you're experimenting and you're practicing. And I think that's really reframed the way I view our home, is like, I'm not going to get it right all the time. My kids aren't going to get it right all the time. I'm going to lose my temper. I'm going to flip out. I'm going to get frustrated. I'm going to snap. I'm going to say something I wish, oh, I wish I'd said that differently. Or my kids are going to, you know, not always say thank you, or I'm going to ask them to take the trash out and they're going to be like, no. Or, but viewing home as kind of this like lab where the kids don't know it, but my wife and I have the mindset of like, we set the tone, and we're the leaders here. So let's treat home as like the practice lab where we're all kind of like, it's like it's the dojo where you would go and train. And that's what we're trying to view our home as with our kids, is it's like the training ground. So we're allowing for mistakes, and we're trying to be like, intentional with our coaching, and so that when they get out in the world, they got some reps, and they failed, and they've you know just had some practice. So yeah.
I'm with you, dude. I mean, it is unique. We're similar in 14-year-old daughters. I've got a 14-year-old daughter too, and both involved in cheer and all that. That's like a part-time job for a kid, or say
Yeah,
full-time job, really. I mean, you
totally.
think about it. So you're right, in finding those times where you can invest in them and say the right thing at the right time, and when to hold back, and when to move forward, and when to just stay put, when to listen, when to say something, all those things.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that I deal with as well, just as a dad. And I think about that even, you were talking about your home being like a lab, like it is, because half the time you're feeling like you're winging it.
Yeah.
You're just like, I don't know what to do, but Lord, give me wisdom. I'm doing my
Uh-huh.
best here with that. We've put, you've seen like the little cork board things where you can put them up in your home.
Yep.
I've about a year or so ago, I put together something that just had the fruit of the spirit on there. It's not like some scripture that is on there and all that, but it's just the practical, real life things, so that even when we lose it at home or something like that, or we're frustrated with each other, we could take that little glance, and then we see love, joy, peace, kindness, patience, goodness, gentleness, kindness. And it's almost like that check yourself of like, is that showing up in my
Sure.
life? You don't even have to say a word, but it's just right there as that reminder
Right.
of, hey, this is, if I'm going to be a Jesus follower, this is what's got to show up. It's got to
Mm,
show up in my life. I'm not going to get it right. That's where great all the time, but that's where grace shows up, like you're talking about.
absolutely.
Man, dude, you've been an encouragement to me, because I'm going to go to my wife now and I'm going to be like, this is our lab.
Yeah. And I heard this somewhere along the way, and I always tell this to friends who are young married couples expecting their first kid. There's a lot of fear and kind of trepidation. And I'm like, you're a first time parent. Well, they're a first time kid. Like they've never been a kid before either. So the pressure's off. Like they're not, the baby isn't born into the world being like, "Hey, Dad, I like, what are you doing? Like, you're screwing it up." They don't know either. So, in a way, you're both figuring it out together. And so, even in this season right now, this is my first time parenting a 14-year-old. This is especially a 14-year-old girl, and this is my first time parenting a 12-year-old boy. So I'm seeing the lab as not just for my kids, but also for me. And with that, I'm gonna make mistakes, and I'm allowing myself to make mistakes. And also, I want to be quick to follow up. If I say something dumb or I say something, if I snap, I want to be quick to make it right. Be like, hey man, I'm sorry. That wasn't cool. I just got frustrated. You were coming at me, your sister was coming at me, and I was stressed about this thing, and God, I'm sorry. Like, so, it's like stating that ground of like, it's got to be a lab for everybody.
Dude, that's good. That's good, man. Thanks for taking time out today, sharing your story, and then just life, man, just real life, because we all deal with it. We all deal with the ups and the downs and the frustrations and the I don't even know what to do phases.
Hmm.
And man, anytime you can call me and I'll bare my soul to you about the 14-year-old daughter
Yeah.
situation or whatever, or even the son situation, man. And the same freedom is there for you too, man, just to spur each other on. That's the truth. How can we pray for you, man, before we wrap up?
Oh man, grateful you would ask. I just think, in this next season of just life being pedal to the metal, and um, starting to put out new music, and just really hopeful. But I think ultimately, like, I just want to remember who God is, and what that means for me, what he says about me, and that I'm his son, and that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. And I just want to live out of my identity of knowing who God is and what that makes me. And that's how I want to live. I don't want to live for any other striving or comparison. I just want to live out of my identity as a son of God. and I want God to use me, and I'm excited to see real ministry happen, in my church, in my family, through my music. Um, yeah, I think I'm pumped for a fun season of ministry, and I'm just kind of tired of being hung up on some of the old things of, self-conscious or comparison or thinking it is about me. And I'm like, God, I just want to get out of the way, and I want to know that, my identity is in Jesus, and that's all that matters.
This is Rewrite, Stories of New Life in Jesus. I'm Jonathan Unthank. If you'd like to join a community of listeners who enjoy hearing the life stories of Christian music artists and influencers, then join the Rewrite text group by texting the word Rewrite. That's REWRITE to 81891. But more importantly, if you'd like to dig deeper into your own relationship with Jesus, you can begin that journey today by texting his name, Jesus, to 81891. God bless you. Join me next time for another episode of Rewrite.